I want to briefly touch on how you wound up. I know that you were a DA and in the DA's office, prosecutor. Did the fact that your father was a police officer actually make you, between that and just the practice of law in general and understanding that everyone has rights, did that actually ultimately lead you toward some of the work that you do now in terms of representing police unions and that kind of thing?
So it's a great question, and the answer is a resounding yes. My father wanted me to be a state trooper and or a police officer or whatever else, and that was his dream. It wasn't mine, and I just didn't have the temperament for it. I didn't have the ability to do that. I wasn't cut out for it. And then my dad, and I'm very open about this, got into some issues when he was a police officer. He ended up getting arrested and prosecuted himself. May he rest in peace now. And I remember they were investigating his unit, and they asked him to turn state's evidence, and he wouldn't. And so his friend did, who ended up getting out of everything. But my dad went to trial. There was a trial in the Bronx, and he ended up getting convicted of a misdemeanor, the felonies his lawyer got him out of. And he was excited that I did want to do law, not the police. He accepted it and pushed me towards it. Also, when he found out that I had the interest, and he always used to tell me that every time you walk into a courtroom, you have an opportunity to save someone's life. Take that opportunity seriously. Be prepared. Do what you have to do. And years later, your clients will speak of you and remember you fondly for going to bat for them, fighting for them, and doing great things for them. And it's interesting because that's very true. And I'll just tell you a brief story. I was in court just the other day, and someone actually, crazily enough, pulled me to the side. He said, "Oh my God, oh my God!" I said, "What? What?" He said, "You have a minute?" I said, "Sure." He said, "You actually represented me 21 years ago. You
Wow.
came to the police precinct, got me out of the police precinct, and took care of my case." And I run into people like that all the time. I was at a boxing match last year, and I had a correctional officer who now has a highfalutin job with the boxing commission say to me, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am now. You took care of my case." So my dad was right. So I guess the moral of the story is each of us have a special responsibility. If we take our, responsibilities like we should, and if we honor our commitment to be the best lawyers and people we can be, we could somehow make a difference. And that's what I try to do every day.
Fantastic. You would have, having more than 20 years, getting towards 30 years of practice. I think you came out of law school in 95 or so. You would have some perspective about how you have seen police cases go over the years, particularly as it pertains to the deference that police would, get. How much or how little is that changing? And is that a good thing and is that a bad thing? Answer that however you want, because you practice in it every day, but I'm sure you've seen some evolution there.
No, I've seen tremendous evolution, and I'll begin it where I left off with the last one in terms of my father. What he always used to tell me when he was an officer, before that hiccup came and he transitioned to the fire department, is he always told me that with all the equipment he's given on his belt and nightsticks and guns and this, that, and the other, the most effective is his voice, to reason with people, to treat people with dignity and respect, to try to have some empathy for someone and just try to talk to them. He didn't discharge his weapon in years on this service because he would treat a person like they were a person. So I think that's very important, and I think that everyone, whether they're police or someone else, could really benefit from that advice. But particularly police, and to your question, I think it's an extremely good thing that we have accountability. I think a lot of that accountability is centers around what we're seeing. Right, we're in a technological age, and as a result, not only are there body cams that pick things up, but there are sky cams. Right, there's cameras everywhere that kind of note what you do. So, unfortunately, I think a lot of the abuses that we've seen and are seeing have been around for a long time.
Sure.
Accountability has not been around for a long time. And so, in terms of the changes I see people who are seeing things with their own eyes, namely jurors, who are disgusted by that and who are holding people accountable for that, particularly police officers. So, gone are the days where police can do whatever they want, how they want, when they want, and expect just to skate. You have to answer for your conduct. And so I think, whether you're a police officer or anybody else, we're all accountable. And, I get and understand no one's perfect. And I would never indict the entirety of police, throughout this country who are working hard, keeping all of us safe, right? Keeping our communities safe and doing what they have to do. And I think they too are upset, by the disparagement of communities they're seeing from some of their colleagues. So not to indict, every police officer, but those who misstep, the reckoning is here. And so I think it's high time, with all the technology, that it's showing people what's happening. And what it's showing is inconsistent from what some police are writing in their documentation that they're presenting. And so they're having to be accountable in front of jurors. And I think that's always a great thing.